Is this a real magic trick? My name is Ben Seidman. I'm a magician. This is my third Vanity Fair video breaking down magic and sleight of hand in film and TV. If I do a fourth video, I get a free smoothie. So please share this video. I really want that smoothie. The Hunger Games, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
I'm Lucretius Lucky Flickerman, a man who needs no introduction. You'll know me as your favorite weatherman and amateur magician. But guess where I am today?
Is this a real magic trick? Some people would say that it isn't. So this was largely dependent on movie magic, but it didn't have to be. My job as a magician is to violate reality, but I'm also constrained by the laws of physics. That isn't the same in film and TV. There are no laws in the film and TV business. I mean, The Hunger Games is about a bunch of children murdering each other, and the target demo is children. But that effect could have been done for real. A core principle of magic deception is that our brains fill in the gaps whenever information is missing. We think we see a triangle, but it's not there. We see 3 circles. So the existence of something is implied. Take, for example, the simplicity of vanishing a coin. At a certain point, the existence of the coin is implied. If I wanted to perform a coin vanish that matched one of the coin vanishes in the Hunger Games, it might look something like this. What really takes a midair coin vanish from a magic trick to a miracle is that people swear that they see the coin vanish in midair, if you're watching it live anyway. So exactly how does that trick our brains? The big fish principle. I caught a fish and it was this big. 5 days later, oh, I caught a fish, it was this big. You should have seen that fish, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. An audience's memory can actually enhance the possibility of a magic trick. People sometimes just misremember the details. That's why eyewitness testimonial is so unreliable. But a big magic secret, and I shouldn't even be telling you this, is that sometimes we plant the big fish principle in the viewer's mind, subtly convincing a person that what they're about to witness or witnessing is completely wrong. It's also known as the delusion of memory principle. Outside of magic, it's called gaslighting. Tobias Dostai is a brilliant magic consultant. Jason Schwartzman, he's a fantastic actor and improviser. I'm not mad at the result here. I would have just loved to see more of the magic that they developed leading up to this film, because I know there was so much more. Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning.
This key, the one you picked from that man's pocket, it's worthless without this key. But together, they're worth $4 million in cryptocurrency that man was carrying on a flash drive.
I can definitely say without a doubt that this is real sleight of hand without any special apparatus. The director, Christopher McQuarrie, he wrote The Usual Suspects, so I'm venturing to say that he already thinks like a magician. They also had Ben Hart consulting, and I think that the method he chose was perfect for this. Magic consultants on a set have to be pragmatic. You have to get everything right. Sometimes even on the first take. Short answer, Tom did this for real. In order of difficulty, it goes, this trick is the most difficult, then hanging off a plane in midair, then running down the Burj Khalifa. Driving a motorcycle off a cliff is like tied. Tom practiced this until it was invisible. Bravo, Tom. If that's the one magic trick that you can do, you're welcome at my magic jam anytime. I bet Tom could do this trick with his eyes closed or his eyes wide shut. This is real sleight of hand. It's risky business, you know? The director, the consultant, the prop master, a few good men, thus making Tom the Top Gun. Please stop me. Someone stop me. I will just keep going until someone stops me. Now you see me too.
Who are you? What are you doing in my...
It's actually a funny story.
How did you get into my apartment?
I think it's funny. It's not like funny, haha. Or you might not think that it's funny, haha. I think it's funny. I guess that's all kind of relative. I was actually... No, that's not... I made myself in the neighborhood, and now I'm here. Maybe...
Okay.
Chopping people's heads off, it's been a lovely tradition for both magicians and for psychopaths. Have you ever read a history book? They're terrifying. In 1594, a guy named Reginald Scott writes this book called The Discovery of Witchcraft. This is the first magic book that we know of that has an English translation that early. In that book are all sorts of methods that were being used at the time. You see, in the 1500s, it was not a good time to be a magician. Doing magic tricks would get you burnt at the stake, or as the kids would say, getting lit. So Reginald Scott writes this book, which is basically a book on critical thinking. Like, hey, stop murdering these people, they're just doing magic tricks. Now, the guillotine in this movie could have been CGI, but I think it actually might have been a practical effect. What's interesting to me is that she is talking right up until the point that the blade comes down. That's called a convincer. But in a live performance, convincers are meant to support the illusion. This right here is fun, but it's not that deceptive. If I wanted to add a convincer, I might put a ring on my finger. Removing body parts certainly exists as a plot in old school magic. In fact, I flew back to my parents' house in Wisconsin to bring these miniature guillotines and arm and finger choppers back from my parents' house. If you don't think these were worth all of my allowance money, you're right. If you put carrots in these holes, someone's arm here, the carrots will shatter as you bring the blade down. Now the carrots are acting as the convincers. Okay, Nicole, this is a very weird contraption here. I'm gonna have you put your hand in there, which I know sounds weird. I can't believe you're trusting me with this. This is great. And then right there, I'm just gonna close these up. That's to make sure that you don't change your mind. And then we have a couple of carrots. Here, this is very, very serious stuff right here. And you can see that the carrot is stopping the blade, right?
Yes.
That's going to prevent you from being harmed in any way. But keep your hand right there, take a deep breath and relax. And on the count of 3, 1, 3. You okay? Keep your hand there, keep your hand there. Make sure that the blade is actually underneath your arm. And it is, you can take it out. And I'm glad you're okay. You're all right?
Yes.
Physically fine? Emotionally scarred? As a side note, one of the producers asked me how this plot in magic relates to sawing a woman in half. That story is mind-blowing. British magician P.T. Selbit was the first to saw a woman in half, and he did this only 3 years after the women's suffrage movement took hold in the UK. It's reasonable to speculate that cutting a woman in half was a big screw you to women's rights. A lot of the versions of this trick didn't even have the woman getting put back together, and the all-male audiences liked it. As a man, I would vote that we all stop doing that trick. By the way, P.T. Selbit's wife got half in the divorce. The Illusionist. When The Illusionist first came out, I assumed that Ed Norton's character was based on the French conjurer Robert Houdin, who famously took advantage of modern scientific discoveries of the time. Electromagnetism, his mechanical knowledge of clockmaking, and also what has become known as Pepper's ghost. Here's the mind-blowing thing. The effect of ghosts walking around on stage was actually witnessed live in the 1800s. I'm gonna show you how to make your own ghost, but to understand how this is possible, we have to go back in time for a segment I like to call the very fast history lesson that you didn't ask for. In 1558, Neapolitan scientist Giambattista della Porta described the basic technology that predates Pepper's ghost as an optical curiosity. Fast forward 300 years, the French painter Peter Seguin filed a patent for a children's toy called a polyscope based on this technology. It was not very popular, it just did not take off, but the real leap forward came from a British civil engineer named Henry Dirks, who was the first person to suggest putting the idea on stage and making it big. Enter Victorian science superstar John Henry Pepper, who realized that changing the design and angling the glass allows two images to be seen at the same time in a more efficient manner. So what's their connection to the French conjurer Robert Houdin, aka Ed Norton? Well, in 1863, Houdin reaches out to both Dirks and Pepper about using the ghost technology, and 5 years later, Houdin consults on a stage play whose name I have no interest in mispronouncing, and he creates an elaborate scene where ghostly images resist the blows of swords. Does that sound familiar? I mean, it could just be a coincidence. This has been the very fast history lesson that you did not ask for. Thank you. To make your own Pepper's ghost, you need something to contain it. Probably the easiest thing to use is a glass bowl. You want something that's totally see-through. Next, you want some plastic that you can also see through. What works great is actually the packaging that you find on anything at the store. I got these paintbrushes at the dollar store. And you want to cut a section that's shaped approximately like this, like a half circle. You might have to adjust it several times, but this goes inside at an angle, and now you need something to reflect. They called this the oven back when this was first created. In that case, it was actors who were below the stage in a trap. The oven has to have a lot of light. That's actually where the term limelight came from, because of the green light that they used. But what works great for this, if you're gonna fake making a Pepper's ghost, is a phone or a tablet. So if you have an image with a black background that is also pretty lit up, you can set your design on top, and if you line it up perfectly, you're gonna get a ghost. It might require a little bit of tweaking, but you'll get it. What's interesting to me is that this version is pretty similar to what we saw in pop culture that has been called holograms. If you remember seeing the Gorillaz performing with Madonna, or Tupac performing live with Snoop, these are examples of things that are derivative from Pepper's ghost, but actually, those are 2D images being projected, much like what we're creating here with the tablet. If you think about it, the version in the 1800s was actually more technologically advanced in some ways, because it was a 3D image. Once you have your ghost created, it should look something like this. So here we have a ghost hummingbird. Isn't that cool? I love magic so much, and getting a chance to look back at these clips was so much fun. All magicians build on a foundation of knowledge from the greats before them, so I want to pause and say thank you to my mentors and my peers in the magic world. Thank you for watching.